there's no more money to pay their wages. And then they are left with the residual work of companies who have made these millions and millions of dollars in contracts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, trigger warning, my comments will use the word ArriveCan. ArriveCan is impacting public trust because it's an earth-shattering scandal. Massive cost. Is it the position of the Government of Canada that we should be overpaying for consultants and contracts and then simultaneously underpaying the unionized workers who then also administer and verify the final products and the reports? And I guess perhaps you could even comment a little bit on whether or not you think it's fair that the expert members of our public service unions are frequently told that there's no more money to pay their wages, and then they are left with the residual work of companies who have made these millions and millions of dollars in contracts.
Turn now to Mr. Genuis. You have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I am very struck by the comments of my Liberal colleague regarding lack of trust in public institutions, as if public institutions can be trust in public institutions can be disconnected from an evaluation of their conduct. I think public institutions have to earn trust. Now, the ArriveCan scandal is an earth-shattering scandal. Massive.
Just 1 second, Mr. Genuis. Yes, Ms. Khalid, your point of order is?
When Conservative colleagues call it an ArriveCan instead of an ArriveCan app,
Ms. Khalid, that is
impacting the public trust. That is the crux of what I was trying to get
Ms.
at.
Khalid, that is not a point of order. That is a term we're hearing both in this committee room, but also throughout Parliament Hill. Mr. Genuis, you have the floor. 4 minutes and 40 seconds, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, trigger warning, my comments will use the word ArriveCan. ArriveCan is impacting public trust because it's an earth-shattering scandal. Massive cost overruns, rigged processes, double-dipping, disappearing records, over 10,000 Canadians incorrectly sent into quarantine, deleted emails, senior public servants accusing each other of perjury, multiple points of conduct that are likely criminal. Yes, this is impacting public trust. The public will only trust institutions when and to the extent that those institutions actually earn their trust. So it's pretty rich for Liberals like Ms. Khalid to talk about the need for public trust in institutions when they have presided over a massive decline in the effectiveness and the trustworthiness of public institutions and done nothing about it.
Mr. Genuis, just now, Ms. Khalid, you are. No, you're not the next speaker, but go ahead. You have a point of order. It's a point of order, not a rebuttal.
I'd appreciate if Mr. Genuis did not try to malign me. I've already been dealing with a lot of hate mail and a lot of threats in my office based on what the Conservatives have done. I would appreciate if you didn't put another target on my back.
Thank you, Ms. Khalid. Mr. Genuis, you have 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I would encourage Canadians who contact the offices of government members to be respectful, polite, and gracious, and also to criticize in a respectful and principled way the profound failures of this government. And I don't think there is anything wrong with criticizing the actions or conduct of members that merit that criticism in this ArriveCan scandal. A quick question for Mr. Hupé. A lot clearly went wrong with ArriveCan. You said we don't need new rules. Procurement is complex enough. I think it's too complex, actually, and the problem we have is that this government builds highly complex systems that end up masking corruption or direct accountability. But it seems like you set up a false choice, which is either the system stays as it is, or we add additional rules that make it more complex. Isn't the alternative to fix the system so that it's simpler and has clear lines of accountability so that we can actually identify and hold accountable individuals who engage in corrupt action?
So we're always looking to improve on the system. I think that would be a mistake not to do that. In this particular case, my comments were to the effect that, as the Auditor General mentioned, the rules were not followed here. So that's different than, so building, I've got 30 years experience, building a bunch of red tape on top of processes because there's something bad that happened is in my mind, not the solution here. The problem is that we need to make sure that the compliance of the rules gets respected.
Right.
So that's what the actions will be.
I agree with you that making the system more complex isn't the solution. We need the system to be clear, to work, to hold people accountable for what they've done wrong. But that does mean pretty substantial changes, including changes in leadership. Now, I want to put a fine point on this. Your department, Treasury Board, actually sends the checks for ArriveCan, right?
Send the checks?
Signs the checks, pays the expenses.
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No,
okay.
The department would approve the actual payment under Section 34, so there's someone that validates.
Okay.
And then the check printing actually happens by the Receiver General,
I'm
which is
getting
PSPC.
process aspects mixed up.
So tomorrow,
but
PSPC.
you're approving. So do you, to put a fine point on it, do you know how much was spent? I mean, are you able to answer the questions?
Listen, the Auditor General went through the files.
Right.
She did an audit, and she found, that she wasn't able to trace all the financial records. So, no, I don't, obviously, or else I would have given it to her.
Hence the problem. Chair, I want to move a motion now, and I'll explain after I've moved it, that the committee report to the House that it calls on the government to prohibit any government employee from simultaneously working as an external contractor. That is a matter at hand motion. I've sent an embargoed copy to the clerk who can distribute it.
Thank you. Just 1 second, please.
What's an embargoed copy?
Members have received that motion, and I certainly welcome all members to send motions to the clerk before they are tabled, just to move things along. You're not, of course, required to do so, but it does prevent. And again, you do so, the clerk will process it. And in this case, as in others embargoed, I won't know about it, particularly when I'm doing my job up here, but it does help move things along. So we have a motion on the floor. I see Ms. Shanahan, your hand is up.
Sorry, I wanted to speak to it as well.
Okay, pardon me, Ms. Shanahan. I'm
Chair.
going to go back to Mr. Genuis. Ms. Shanahan, I'll come to you in a moment, Ms. Shanahan. Mr. Genuis is correct. He did not relinquish the floor. Mr. Genuis, the
Point
floor
of
is yours.
order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Khalid.
I believe Ms. Shanahan's hand was up. The motion is still being distributed to members, and I would appreciate hearing from Ms. Shanahan before we...
As would I, and as I corrected myself, Mr. Genuis was clear. He was not relinquishing the floor. He just was signaling to make sure members had the motion so they could review it as he was talking to it. So, Mr. Genuis, you have the floor, after which I will happily go to Ms. Shanahan. Over to you, Mr. Genuis.
Thank you, Chair. The motion that I have moved deals with the situation that we have recently heard about in the Arrive scam scandal, which is that one of the contractors was given $7.9 million as part of the ArriveCan process, and for what work we still don't have clarity on. But the Arrive scam scandal led to this contractor, Dalian, receiving $7.9 million at the same time as this person was an employee of the Department of Veterans Affairs. The Department of Veterans Affairs, by the way, also gave money to this company. So you have an employee of the government whose own department, as well as other departments, is giving money to his contract. Now this is absurd. As I said earlier, the reason we see any contracting out is based on the idea that the government doesn't have the internal expertise to perform a particular task. So why would the government, contracting out on the basis that they don't have the internal expertise to do something, contract out to someone who is also a government employee? It makes no sense. It allows individuals to double dip. This shouldn't happen. I had asked our witness today directly, are there rules that clearly prohibit this practice? He answered to the committee that there are not rules that clearly prohibit this practice, that there could be an evaluation around a conflict of interest, but that in his words, it is not disallowed. I think it should be disallowed that you have somebody making money both as a government employee and as an external contractor when they're being externally contracted on the basis of the alleged lack of internal expertise of government. So I would hope that this motion would have the agreement of the committee, and I think it's important in light of the evidence we've heard to send a clear message to the government that this policy, that this type of practice should no longer be allowed.
Similar subject matter, then he would say I violated the rules of national security. I know exactly what he's up to. And that is why I will continue to do my job, which is Leader of the Opposition, to hold him accountable. I will not be silenced. This is Canada, and in Canada we have the freedom of expression. Thank you.
Questions and comments?
They put on a big show in here. We've already passed a motion like this, by the way. The government didn't do anything because the NDP kept them in power. And back in committee, they do exactly the same thing. They speak, they go to hold press conferences and act all tough. Back in committee, all they do is give all the procedural support necessary for the Prime Minister to cover it up again and again and again.